It's that time, folks. It's time for your board game dessert. It's time for Game Pie. Of course, Game Pie is when Mandy and I serve up a selection of games curated by our excellent taste and our whims because we hate ranking things like top fives, but we love baked goods, and hence we have Game Pie.
Woo!
And the pie of the day today is full of surprise brain burners. These are games that, there are lots of brain burner games out there, but these are ones that kind of took us by surprise. We did not go in expecting them to sear our noggins as much as they did. So a little broad and definitely subjective, but these are our surprise brain burners. Mandy, would you like to serve up the first slice?
I sure will. And the first slice of pie might seem very familiar because I talked about it last episode. And I think I literally said it was a surprise kind of brain burner. And that is Harmonies. Harmonies is a newer game, but it's just one of those games where, you get to make some habitats, put some pieces on. You're like, oh, yeah, this is easy. And then you're like realizing, oh, wait, but if I put this here, it doesn't match this here, but I might get more points here. So it's a bit of that min maxing and then determining like what's the best way to do it. And it's so simple, simple components, simple rules. Yet you sit there agonizing on what to do. So harmonies for me, first slice of surprise brain burner pie. Huh, that definitely burned my brain.
Oh, I'm so excited to try this game someday. All right.
So good.
My first slice of pie, I had to slide in a roll and write game, of course. So I picked Splitter. Splitter is in a teeny tiny box. It is just a pad of paper and a couple of dice. It's not a big deal. You'd never expect it to be anything other than, maybe a little quick good time. But Splitter is a game in which you are mirroring your choices on two sides of your sheet. And that just notches it up where I have people that are excellent gamers that it even kind of breaks them a little bit. They're like, no, I'm good on Splitter because I can't play it. And that's totally fair. So Splitter has a unique element to it that levels it up, rules dead simple, super fast to play if you can push people to actually make their choices because of that sheet mirroring element. So Splitter definitely surprised me with how much it can burn my brain.
That's a good choice. And yeah, it's again simple, a pencil, paper, some dice, and you're like, oh my gosh, why am I struggling? So very good choice.
Yes.
My second slice of surprise brain burner pie is Arboretum. Oh my goodness. It's cards, really, right? And you're trying to make sure you're getting the same types of trees together. And again, I don't know it's a thing for me, but it seems like these ones where you need to kind of have set scoring based on types of things. I struggle with, like
Mhm.
adjacency matters and things like that.
Mhm.
And like I said, it's just cards, right? Can't be that hard. Well,
And
it
this
is.
tree is so pretty.
It's so pretty. Exactly. I have the really nice, pretty version. And I tell you, like, this game is fun, but sometimes I question myself playing because I'm like, why am I so struggling with this game? But it's so good and so pretty. So, Arboretum, if you haven't played it, you should try it. But just be forewarned, you're going to be like, oh my gosh, the brain, but worth it. So, Arboretum.
Excellent, excellent. Next slice up for me is a game that you might it's a big box, right? And so sometimes I think your expectations with bigger boxes are a little bit higher. And
Sure.
it's by Kramer and Kiesling, which is of course that dynamic classic board game design duo that produced excellent game after excellent game. But this one still took me by surprise and it flummoxes even great gamers and it is Reworld. Reworld. It didn't really hit, I feel like, in the game
Oh,
universe, which makes me sad because I love this game. Reworld
yeah.
is, sorry, Mandy, a science fiction game about
Surprise.
terraforming a planet, which is a very common or relatively common theme. But in
Sure.
Reworld, you have two phases to the game. You are loading all of the units and technologies that you need to terraform this world, and then you have to unload them and activate them. And that's where the brain burning kicks in because the order that you load them into your ship, right? You're stacking crates. Well, you can't unstack the first crate you loaded. It's buried. You got to go first in, last out. and that last
Okay.
out really matters for your order of operation on the planet when you're terraforming. And so that is the advanced planning that really can twist you about. It's an extra layer of kind of sequence planning that you need to do that a lot of games don't ask you to do. And that's why Reworld is a little extra special in the brain burn department.
Okay, I heard of it, but like you said, I didn't hear a ton about it, so I didn't know too much of,
Yeah.
how it was gonna work, but that's good to know. So maybe I'll have to try it, space theming and all. All right. Well, my third slice of pie is witchcraft. And you're like, what? What's this, Mandy? It's a solo game. Yes, I said solo, but I know Suzanne has this one too. And this game, I thought, oh, it should be fine. You have some, you have a deck of cards that you have your witches in, and you're trying to use them to for their abilities and gaining a certain amount of points that you can like allocate to taking out some of these bad cards that you have in a display. Near the end, you're going to have a trial, right? To make sure that, these people are not, in trouble at the end. You want to get them off out of trouble. And it's one of those games where I think I just mismanaged my cards because depending how you play the card will depend on if you can keep it or if it goes into a kind of like a discard pile that you may not see again. And trying to get the cards to work together based on what you've drawn, right? And picking those games from the beginning is the biggest thing that I always do so badly because then the cards end up not chaining properly. And I'm like, what am I doing? What am I doing? And I know I'm just going down a rough path. So solo games, I think, generally can be a little tricky to play, but this one in particular, it starts right from the beginning. If you choose poorly, you're gonna struggle a little bit, and then it just makes it that much more brain burnery for you as you continue to play. So witchcraft, solo game, but I had to throw that in there because I definitely know I've had those moments with this one.
Absolutely, and it's so smooth to play, like, the rule
Yeah,
set is smooth, but those choices, they absolutely hurt, so great
absolutely.
choice.
Yes.
My next slice of surprise brain burn pie is Patterns. Patterns, a mandala game. So, Patterns is by Trevor Benjamin and Brett J. Gilbert. It's a two-player only game that is in this little mini series, apparently, that they're doing that started with Mandala, which is a card game. Patterns is a token game, but it is an area control game in which you're just putting out colored circles on a cloth mat. Small box, affordable game, quick rules. Who'd think anything about it? Oh, first of all, this game is cutthroat as heck. It is
Mhm.
area control, which they often are. But beyond just the cutthroat nature of the game, it's the planning nature of the game that makes it that extra layer because you are constantly making trade-offs and based on the limitations of the pieces that you have available to you, and that's critical for a few reasons, not only the area control but also the scoring, because like
Yeah.
Mandala, in Patterns you actually set the points you will get for each color based on the order that you execute some stuff in the game. That the trade-offs between when you're gonna claim things and the numbers that you have access to, the tokens that you have access to, plus the knife fight that's happening with colored circles on a piece of cloth. It's incredibly intense for such a simple looking
Right.
game. It's very deep in my opinion, and, I love it, but definitely even on top of Mandala, I love Mandala as a two-player game. Even having a ton of experience with that game, going into Patterns, Patterns took me by surprise on
Okay.
how much more, quote, unquote, "painful" it really was. So that is Patterns.
Yes, I've heard things in this one, so I might have to give that another go. And my final slice of pie, well, this is one I'm pretty sure we've already talked about this on the podcast, but the White Castle. This is a Devere game, and it's one of those games where the actions, I think, are pretty straightforward. Yes, it is slightly on, like, and I put that in quotes, "heavier side" because it might be for some people, but I feel like it's the time constriction here that really gets you because you don't have as many rounds as some games to kind of flesh out and plan out your actions, and before you know it, the game's over, and I'm like, "I haven't done anything." So now you're trying to maximize what your actions you're trying to take in turns because you don't have a lot of time to do it. So I think that's the part that really gets me because now I have to think, how can I play effectively but also efficiently? So I find that time constraint is what throws me in this game and why I kind of had to add it in the surprise brain burner category. So if you haven't tried it, it's a very good game. But let me tell you, it keeps you on your toes with how short it is, and that is the White Castle.
Oh, newer game and definitely, a lot going on in that
Yeah,
small box too, my gosh.
absolutely.
All right, folks. The last slice of surprise brain burn pie is a game from Analog Lunchbox, which is a Japanese publisher I'm a huge fan of, called Pastali.
Ooh.
Pastali, when you open it up, it's a beautiful game. It's just a bunch of cardboard tiles in bright colors with white lines pathing through them because it is a tile laying game in which you're trying to connect paths from one point to another point. The tiles are shaped like elongated hexagons, so a little bit like a gem shaped tile, which makes it unique and uncommon, which is cool. But let me tell you, I love pathing games and I love tile laying games and I love abstract games. Pastali takes everything to the next level with such a simple rule set. Lay a tile, you can overlay tiles, you can stack them up. You have to be fully supported. So that third dimension of placement already notches it up on top of it. But then with all the pathing and the priorities and how you can take over other people's tiles and what they had been working on, I mean, honestly, I thought my brain would melt out of my ears, and I actually find Pastali frustrating to
Yeah.
play. Like, that's how much it burns my brain. Don't get me wrong, it's a gorgeous game. I think it's a very clever and smart game, but it is absolutely like, I need to spread aloe vera gel over my entire being. I need to drink a bottle of aloe vera gel after I play Pastali because it has burned my head up
Oh
so
my god.
much. My poor cabeza is on fire with Pastali. So if you haven't had a chance
Oh,
to check it out, definitely worth a look for such a simple, abstract, pretty game. Oh, it hurts.
burn, baby, burn.
So there you have it, folks. Some of the surprise brain burners from us. Now, again, this is a broad category. We would love
Sure.
for you to share some of your surprise brain burners. As Mandy and I were talking about planning this episode, we were even like, oh my gosh, it could be this or it could be that. Or we know
Yeah.
we're forgetting ones that aren't popping to mind because they are surprises, right? So chime in with your surprise brain burners. Or in anticipation of next episode, chime in with your favorite forest or foresty games. Mandy, you can
Mhm.
interpret that however you want.
And I will, don't worry.
Because next episode, our game pie will be full of games in the forest or related to forests, and we would love to work those into the show as well. You can email us your choices at saltandsassgames@gmail.com, or you can chime in on our threads on our Board Game Geek Guild. That's Guild 4131. Or Mandy, maybe they can hit us up on the socials. We actually hear from people on social a lot.
We do actually. So you might be watching this right now on the YouTube, or maybe just catching a live stream on the Twitch, and you can find us there at Salt and Sass Games. That's Salt and Sass Games, or you can find us on the Twitter. Yes, I said Twitter, and you can find us there at Salt N Sass Games. Salt N Sass Games. You can also find me on the socials. I'm on Instagram, Twitter, Blue Sky, all the things. That's 613 Mandy. That's Mandy with an I. How about you, Suzanne?
And you can find me on all those places as well. I'm at 425 Suzanne. Next episode, don't forget to chime in on Foresty Games. Mandy and I will be back with more games that we've been playing to chat about. Until then, make sure that you are taking care of yourselves, staying hydrated, and playing lots of games. We'll see you soon. Bye.
Bye. Bye, everybody. This episode was sponsored by Druid City Games, where player experience comes first. Check out all of their great games at druidcitygames.com.